I forgot. I did a live stream, but I had a really bad connection, so it didn't work out so well. And because of that, when I finished recording, it said error, so I just ended up deleting the whole thing afterwards because I saw that it did record after the fact, but at first it looked like it didn't record at all. So when I actually saw that there was a recording, I just ended up deleting it because I'm pretty sure that it was glitchy all the way through. And I had people that had popped onto the stream and there was no conversation whatsoever. So I just ended up deleting it because I'm pretty sure people were trying to leave comments or questions and it just wasn't appearing to me because of the bad connection. So I just decided to try this again. This is a Ask Me Anything sort of format, but this time it's about Batman. Okay. Um, the last one that I did, the one that I ended up deleting, was actually me giving a long tirade against dealing with unsecured dogs in the community when I'm out running. And I said that it led to the point where, as I had predicted years ago, that someone would get attacked, a kid would get attacked, and in fact, someone did, which was my very own niece. She was out playing with some other kids, and was attacked by a puppy pit bull. And most people say, "Well, it's just a puppy," but the that puppy wouldn't let go of her until her friend snatched it off of her and left bite stick bit through her clothing. It didn't really break her skin but left welts. And then but the following day when she went to patient first, which is an emergency care facility, it had left those welts underneath, had left some sort of blood clots or whatever. So I'm glad that my sister, her mother, had brought her to the ER just in case, because the people who held the dog, it was a low income Latino family. So I was like, I don't, and it's nothing against Latino. I don't trust low income people with their dogs, that they have um, ensured that those dogs have gotten all the proper shots that they need. So that was what the previous live stream was about 2 days ago that got deleted because, again, my connection was so poor that people were coming onto the screen and I wasn't sure if they could leave responses or not. And I couldn't even find the recording uh, after after I had finished the after I finished the live stream. So I just ended up deleting it because there was there was no communication with the audience, and the connection was so poor that I don't know what people could see and not see. I think people can see this. If you guys can see this perfectly, maybe you can say something in the chat room. Let me know that everyone can see this perfectly. Okay, that'll be appreciated. And again, like all the live streams, if I don't get any sort of communicate with anyone, then I'll drop it. Hi Joel, how are you? So this is a Ask Me Anything sort of format. Thanks Noah, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. But I'm gonna talk about Batman. If you can't hear it, you can hear the Dark Knight in the background. I'm gonna be quiet for a second, see if you guys can catch it. I don't play it too loudly just because I don't want to get I don't want any copyright strikes against me. I'm yay close to being monetized, and even though that wasn't really a goal for me when I started this channel, since I'm so close to it, it wouldn't make sense not to do it. But yeah, so I am gonna just talk all Batman stuff unless people have questions otherwise. Hi, boy. I'm sorry I can't translate that into English, so I don't know what you're saying. But how are you? Hi from Amsterdam. Hi, Musmos. Canelo is saying, "Fight me." All right. I want to go to Amsterdam, by the way. Um, Once I go back to Germany, that'll probably be on my itinerary. My plan is to fly into Germany via Frankfurt and hit the Netherlands, hit France, um, maybe Turkey as well. But I like to do all of that. I don't care if you KKK, Cadell. I'm impressed that you can spell it. Anyway, oh, and Tajikistan. Okay, that's what's up. Um, I have a friend. Well, no, he's not in Tajikistan. He's in Uzbekistan. I have a friend who's in Uzbekistan, and I might be going there sooner or later. He actually invited me and my wife to come out and meet him and his wife while he's living there. He's not a ethnic Uzbeki. He's American like me. We actually went to college together, but he's currently living out there because of his job. So I plan on traveling there. I'm from the U.S. guys. I'm from Maryland. Um, so yeah, I just want to talk about Batman a little bit. I think I'm over the Star Wars hump from from the last week or so ago. Um, because I get into conversations with other people who claim to be Batman fans, but you can tell they don't really read the books. They just watch the movies and they form all their opinions about Batman based on the latest movie that just came out. And none of those movies are considered canon. What's considered canon is the storyline in the comic books, and that's within the main continuity, which is Earth One, or I think it's called Earth One. They sometimes it's Prime Earth or New Earth or Earth One, whatever. The main continuity. Um, Bobby, what's up? I don't know what the whole thing about minors is. That's weird. But if you're gonna say something inappropriate, you will get kicked out the chat. I'll say that right now. We don't not dealing with anything talking about children or anything like that. That's weird. So let that be known right now. If you if you're saying something out of pocket, you'll be put out and you'll be banned from my channel permanently. Um, that goes for you too, um, Canal or whatever. So I don't care if you saying insults to me or whatever. Just make sure you're not saying anything inappropriate about children or other racial groups or whatever. All right. I'm American. Divert Wiggerton. Sorry, my German is horrible. But yeah, I'm American, not African. Foundational Black Americans. We don't consider ourselves African. We've been in America since its establishment. We've been here since 1619. So 400 years outside of Africa, we have no connection with that culture. Foundational Black American, FBA, or what we call ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. I don't care about the African continent. Well, I won't say I don't care about it. I would just say I don't consider myself culturally connected to it. I mean, obviously there's ancestry, but outside of that, American. So, um, hi Laura. Um, oh, you've been on the chat before too, Laura. I remember. What's up to Tia? Hi Elena from Germany. Okay, so we got some folks from that part of the globe um coming in. So that's what's up. Um, Again, for the trolls like Canal and all of these sort of folks, understand it's by my pure grace that I've allowed you to remain on my channel, because at any point I can just click and you'll be bye bye. But if it moves the chat room along, so be it. As long as you don't, I said, as long as you don't insult other people in the chat and you don't say anything inappropriate about certain protected groups. As far as you bashing me, I don't care. I'm a big boy. um, my last album. Okay, who am I supposed to be? Excuse me. I've gotten in the last few chats people joking saying I look like Don Cheadle. I really don't think so. But um now you said my last album sucks. So I wondered who you try to say I look like. That that would be pretty funny to see whom you think I resemble. I get literally so many people. But anyway, so I said this is gonna be a little rant about Batman. I mean, of course you can ask me anything, but I like it to be about Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I'm gonna say some controversial stuff about Batman, or the movies rather, not about Batman himself, but about some of the movies. And I know I'm gonna get some pushback, and that's great. So when the Batman came out 2 years ago, initially I was like, this might be interesting, but to be honest, I wasn't really rooting for it because I don't like Robert Pattinson. And to be honest, he's a good actor, maybe a great actor, but I'll say he's at least a good actor. But his star was tarnished by being in that Twilight franchise for like umpteen years. And to his credit, he thinks the movies suck as well. Of course, he might just be saying that now, because if he really hated them, he wouldn't have done them. But hey, a paycheck is a paycheck, right? I like I completely understand that. Like, I hate Tyler Perry's movies. I don't like Tyler Perry either. But you know, if it was a paycheck, yeah, I'll be in his movies, as long as I don't have to put on a dress and I don't have to, and I can keep my butthole virginity intact. Then I'll do his movies. But other than that, I don't rock with Tyler Perry. But again, I can understand from an actor's point of view, a paycheck is a paycheck. You may not necessarily like the role that you choose, but it pays the bills. Ken says, I'm from North Africa, come visit. That's pretty, that's a pretty wide open region. You're just saying North Africa. Where in North Africa? Morocco, Libya, Egypt, Sudan, Mauritania. Um, I can name other places. Like, gotta narrow it down a little bit. Just say North Africa. You definitely voted Trump. No, I didn't actually, but I am now. I am going to this November. I am, but you have me pegged wrong. I've done literal. You can, once you get off the stream, you can go into my previous videos, like from when I first started this 2 years ago. I was a pretty textbook progressive, and in most of my previous political leanings or whatever, I pretty much voted always blue, despite not despite not liking the candidates. I bit my tongue and voted for Biden. I still slap myself for doing that shit. I voted for Hillary back in 2016. I didn't vote for Obama, but that's only because I just didn't vote at all. But if I did, I would have. But now I'm glad that I didn't, because I really don't like that guy for reasons that I've given in a previous video. You can check that out with me and my friend talking about that. I don't want to get too far askew from what I'm talking about today. But no, I didn't vote for Trump back in 2020 or 2016, but I will be this coming 2024. And lest you think I'm sort of sellout or something and I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to say your name properly. I mean your YouTube handle, D. Verwiggerton. Um, A lot of black men are going to vote for Trump this time, guys, just because we we're done drinking the Kool Aid. Like your heart, you're not going to convince a lot of black men that Trump is worse than Biden when. And I did not want to get political in this. I wanted to stare back into Batman, and I will, but I just want to say this first to answer this guy or woman, or however you know identify yourself. A lot of black men are going to vote for Trump this coming election because we're tired of being played by the Democratic Party. Democratic Party does not represent our interests. They just pay lip service to black issues, but don't really do much about them. And people will be hard pressed to convince black people that Trump is worse than Biden as far as being anti-black, because it's just the evidence is just not there. Biden, when he came into office in the Senate back in the 70s, he fought against desegregating schools. He said his mentor was a notorious white supremacist in America named Strom Thurmond, I believe, um, and praised himself for working across the political aisle with this guy. When the white supremacist leader Robert Byrd died, he eulogized that man and talked glowingly about him. One of our buildings at my alma mater and at the University of Maryland was actually named after Byrd, the Byrd Stadium. They renamed it because of his blemished history, to put it nicely. On top of that, in 1994, Biden co-authored the 1994 crime bill, which sent tens of thousands of black men to prison, many who are still languishing in those facilities today. He and the Clintons at the time basically labeled all young black men as super predators and did that infamous coke versus crack cocaine law, which sentenced black people more heavily for the same amount of drugs if it was crystallized crack cocaine as opposed to powdered cocaine that other groups might peddle. Um, he's had these weird stories talking about how he helped end apartheid in South Africa and just other dumb stuff. He went on a hip hop morning show in New York City and basically told every black person that they ain't black if they don't vote for him. A guy who used to befriend white supremacists in Congress. He During his campaign he lied and said he would give student loan forgiveness for everyone who wants to HBCUs, which are historically black colleges and universities. That never happened. Um, and I could go on. The point being, because this had I did not want to rant on this, is that you can say I voted for Trump. I actually wish I did, but I will be doing so this election because Trump is not more racist than Biden for black votes. So end of that discussion. Ken was it riddle me this, Batman. I mean, I understand, Laura. Like I said, I'm just letting him get it out of his system because he's a troll. Um, More than likely, he's a child. A lot of these, I've a lot of these people who come trolling on these live streams, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram Live or Facebook Live, a lot of them are minors, and they think they're funny. like I said, if he says anything inappropriate to any of you in the stream, I'll kick him out. But I don't care if he says anything bad about me because at the end of the day, I can fight. So I never get bothered by trolls. Robert kind of says I'm more of a super guy, but to each their own. I I, I never said I don't like Superman. He's still my top five. He's just not my number one superhero. I relate more to Batman, but he's definitely in my top five, definitely. And actually, Robert, I don't like people who bash Superman. That we can talk about that separately, but I'm gonna just focus on Batman right now. But yeah, I don't like people who bash Superman, and I'm hoping that James Gunn gets him done correctly this time around. To T, I already answered that. But I'm scrolling, so you probably as of me seeing this, you've already heard my rant. If Matthew says if me and Canal was in the same area, I would dog walk him. Damn. Trust me, I think I think Canal is either a kid or he's just some weird guy with a neck beard living in the basement. One of the two. Joshua Key said black people better in everything. I wish that were the case, but it's not. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, right? Batman is technically insane. No, he's not. So to prove that, and I told you I'm a Bat fan guy, so you guys think I'd be BSing, right? Can you see that? I know it's backwards. It says Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night by Travis Langley. It actually goes over all the psychological aspects of the Batman mythos. Both. Oh man, I knocked over my coffee. Oopsie. Sorry, but it goes over the Batman mythos, his mental health, as well as the mental health of the people in his rogues gallery. He's not insane. Now, does he have mental health issues? Yes, but it's not what you think. He has clinical depression, something else I can personally identify with as someone who's dealt with major depressive disorders. He's clinically depressed, but he's not insane. Insane is actually a legal term anyway. It's not a mental health term. To be insane, like the Joker, which means that's a legal term that you're that you're unfit to deal with reality and need to be treated or hospitalized, so forth. But I get what you're saying. You're trying to say he has psychopathology. But no, he deals with clinical depression, but he's not mentally ill outside of the clinical depression as far as being psychotic. Some people have thought he had PTSD as well. He doesn't have PTSD, not from the way he's too well functioning of a person to have PTSD. But he does have clinical depression, and you see that exhibited in how he acts. So, sorry for the close-up. I didn't mean to be that close into the screen. Grosso says Iowa greets you. Is that Iowa, right? Laura says me that I haven't seen none of his shows. Excuse me. Kendall Zoid is still at it. Excuse me, guys. So Real TV Ninth Ward says 100. Joshua Cage has got him. Dive Ferg Wiggerton says, there you go, got exposed. Como? No, I've already explained it, so I'm not going to regurgitate anything. this dude is a leftist. I don't get it. So first you were saying I voted for Trump, then you're saying I'm a leftist. Here's the thing, my friend. Some people have nuanced views. You can try to put people in one place or another, but it doesn't always fit. And I've always been clear about my political views on this channel from the very beginning that I made this channel. Um, and I've made a complete video saying why I don't consider myself progressive anymore, just because although I agree with most of their views, I didn't like their arguments that they made for those views. I didn't like the people who who often were the face of progressivism, and I don't like that it's centered around identity politics over the last few years. It's pushed a lot of people out. Like even on the Young Turks, which is about as leftist as you can get, you see people like one of the hosts, what's her name? I forgot her name, but she said a few times she doesn't feel like she's progressive anymore because she can't stand the insanity of some of the things that they proffer. So it's become very alienating. Like there's a purity test on the left that you don't see on the right. Um, Brother B said, I heard that this contrarian's vibe is so awesome that when he walks into a room, even the furniture starts questioning its purpose. It's like he's the conductor of the symphony of skepticism. Thank you. I definitely do um, argue for skepticism. I actually made a few videos for that, and I said that there's a lot. I think that a lot of brothers and sisters need to embrace a form of um, a daily dose of skepticism and cynicism, so that they aren't misled by all the misinformation that we get, whether online or in real life. Yeah, Matthew. Like I said, I think Cannell is probably a child, and he's just trolling because he has nothing else better to do. Because if he's an adult, he's clearly pathetic and needs probably some therapy. But um, people who troll the hardest, I think, are often children because they don't they don't know any better, or they do know any better, but they can't stop themselves from being stupid. T-Side says, "Hey brother, don't let anyone affect you. You're not a sellout because you used your brain. Proud of you, and Martin and Malcolm would be too. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you." So I'm spitting propaganda. Let me tell you the facts, dude. I'm not spitting any propaganda. All the stuff that I mentioned about Biden is literally something that you can look up. There's a such thing as called facts. Like you can look at and any politician, you can look at their political record because it's a matter of public records. He admitted it himself back in 2020 during his campaign, during the debates, when Harris was going against him before she became his VP, and they were all vying for for the top spot for president. She said that she was in one of those places where he was fighting against desegregation, where they will have these buses come and take black children from these areas and bus them to predominantly white schools. She So it's a matter of public record that he eulogized Robert Byrd. Is a matter of public record. You can look that up. You can find the videos that he said that Strom Thurmond, or whichever white supremacist that was, I believe it was Strom Thurmond, was his mentor, and that he praised himself for being able to work across the political aisles with him. Public record. So if I'm saying anything about a politician is false, You can easily find it and correct me. To TSA, I was born in 94, 77. CV Mills says, fight the powers that be. I was about to launch into like some Public Enemy song. That was making me think of the Fight the Power song from Public Enemy. You keep saying, let me correct you, but you're not offering anything. And this is about Batman, my friend. Um, Again, you can't correct me on something that I already know about. What you're saying is, let me convince you otherwise than what you already know. That's not. You can try that on someone else. You're not going to try that on someone whose background is in analytical philosophy. And that's just one of my 3 undergrad majors. Right, Luke. Right, exactly. Like he keeps saying, "Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something." What? I swear he must be one of those Hebrew Israelites dressed like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, sitting there spitting out Bible quotes and bothering people as they walk by. He said he wasn't against school desegregation. He literally was. Literally. Did he later then change his mind on it? Sure, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't originally for it. If I once said that I hated cheeseburgers and now I love cheeseburgers, it doesn't change the fact that I once still hated cheeseburgers, right? He said James is about to spit some um, mainstream media talking points. Yeah, I know. Like if he had something to say, he would just said it instead of saying, "Let me say it. Let me say it." Who's preventing you? There's no block on here saying you can't say what you are going to say, even though this is about Batman. And now it starts. So he said, also, wasn't James Stokes the police sergeant in the show? That see, I never watched that show. Was that any good? Um, so that's so his YouTube handle is based off of a character from that show about the serial killer. Yeah, all right. No one's buying what you're selling, James. Take it back to the Hebrew Israelite school or wherever you're coming from, my friend. Levi said okay. I know he's saying okay too. So back to Batman. So he's technically insane. What do you think? I just answered that. You didn't see when? All right, let me show it again, guys. I literally have an entire textbook on Batman and psychology. I know it's backwards, so I'm sorry, but it says Batman and psychology, a dark and stormy night. This gives all his. This gives a complete um, psychological analysis of Batman and everyone in his rogues gallery. And the author is a psychologist. He did his rounds. He uh, took this book with him like 11 years ago, 12 years ago when he first had it published, doing the rounds like at San Diego Comic Con and stuff like that. And again, I also have a background in psychology. Again, I had 3 undergrad majors, and my master's was psychology. Batman is not insane. He does have clinical depression. Clinical depression does not make you insane. If anything, there's a aspect of depression that's called depressive realism. Why it's called that is that people who have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, when they take these psychological evaluations, it turns out they're actually more realistic about their prospects for life than people who are not depressed. It seems to actually be a mentally healthy person, you actually have to be a slightly you have to be slightly unrealistic about life. Depressive realists, well, people with depression don't have that luxury. And this is probably why most, well, I can't say most, but many, if not most, philosophers have also suffered major depression. And I think they kind of go hand in hand, that depressive realism and that search for truth and reason, because we don't drink the Kool-Aid like everyone else does. But Batman is not insane to you know too long didn't read. CJ says, if at all, I wish we could have Obama back. I don't, my friend. Again, I was originally for him back in 2008. I actually told people back in 2007 that he would probably beat Hillary. They was like, no, man, you're insane. Ain't no way he's going to beat Hillary. But I was right. As I often am about things, I saw the political climate in 2007, and I knew that he would end up beating her. CJ, he was talking about Biden, and we earlier on the stream, I gave a whole long answer to our German friend Verwiggerton, who thought I was this or that. Luke B said Trump never drawn U.S. citizens either. Yeah. Well, um, Obama had a whole secret drone war it wasn't launched here in the States. It was abroad, but it was in the Middle East and places like Yemen, Somalia, and Afghanistan. And I said this on a previous video or live stream that uh, one of the last few times I watched the morning news, and I'm telling you guys, probably don't start your day off watching morning news, because it's usually morbid stuff, and you don't want to start your day off like that. It's not a healthy way to start your day. Avoid morning news if you can. But I was watching it one time, and it was this kid lamenting about being scared of going outside and looking up at the sky, because he thought if he did, there might be a bomb dropped on him. Like, the kid literally had that sort of fear. And I was like, I couldn't imagine being that age. Like, I don't remember what the kid's age, somewhere between 8 or 11, 12, and worrying about something like that. At that age, I was worrying about, cartoons, Transformers, breakfast cereal, Saturday morning cartoons, going to school, you know, flirting with girls, riding my bike, playing Nintendo, stuff like that. That comes from my privileged first world sort of upbringing, but at no point would I've been thinking something like, wow, I hope we don't get bombed. So, um, yeah, that's crazy. So everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Thanks, Chang. And it's just another way to pit people against each other. Exactly. The funny thing is, regardless of what side you're on politically, and I'm gonna try to end this political discussion and get back to Batman here. No matter what political side you see yourself on, when people aren't discussing social political issues or whatever, they're a lot more alike than they're not. I can go somewhere in like the middle of Idaho and get along just as perfectly with people as I can somewhere and say like DC. And I think I'm not unique in that regards. But some people like to wear their political identity on their arm and make that all that they're about, and it alienates them from people who could otherwise be their friends, or at least people they can associate with. So end of that discussion. Cheng said, personally, I'm the same with my views. Used to be very liberal. Now I'm more conservative because of the state of the world always being about going too far. Right. So I consider myself a classical liberal, which I've given a whole definition about, like I said, because I don't consider myself progressive anymore. I consider myself classical liberal, which would be on the left, but in America, classical liberalism is actually pushed to the right because it prioritizes personal freedom and political freedom, whereas to be on the left nowadays, it has to be all about identity politics and victimhood, and I can't identify with that. Plus, being someone who's brought up in things like logic and philosophy, I can't I can't subscribe to the view that speech equals hate. Like, or no, I'm worse. That speech equals violence. Like, no, it doesn't. Like letting people speak their opinions is not violence. That that to me is so absurd. So, when I say classical liberal, I know some people would be like, "Oh, so you're just a liberal?" No, classical liberalism is about as far from American liberalism as as I don't know, communism is from capitalism. Classical liberals come from um, the historical aspects of the European Enlightenment and Age of Reason. You're talking about people like John Locke, um, John Stuart Mill, um, Adam was all those folks, and I can name a bunch of them from the Age of Enlightenment. But that was your classical liberalism. It was tied in heavily with reason, science, democracy, those sorts of things. Nowadays, that sort of classical liberalism is pushed to the right. So there you go. See, just to see the way we don't have good options for president. I've always said that even though I'm more democratic, I will vote for a Republican if their stance is better. Yeah, sometimes you shouldn't vote for party. You should vote for individual. What does that individual represent? Does he does he represent your interests? Yeah, yay or nay? I don't think someone should vote just along party lines. That's not critical thinking about politics when you just vote along party lines or you vote simply because of a name or whatever. To think critically about politics, I think you have to be someone independent of the parties, which is why I'm literally an independent. Like I don't, um, I'm not registered to either party. So CJ got it exactly right. We shouldn't be voting only because of party affiliation. Carlos Danger says, "I'm from a forgotten society of Florida, Florida poverty. None of this matters to us anymore. We're dodging gang level RICO cases. You think we chose this? Think deeper." Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there, but doesn't sound good. Chang says, "Agreed. I would vote for whomever makes the most sense to me, regardless of what side I'm on." Exactly. Exactly. Xavier Miller says, "We need you as a teacher out here in the Black Power community." Um, I mean, I'm a coach, but I'm mainly a self defense coach. I do some life coaching, and a lot of stuff I do mainly for free. That's why I don't really consider it my occupation. Um, like I do self defense coaching 1-on-1 pretty cheaply, might I add, and I do life coaching. Currently, I was a life coach to a woman. She's on the spectrum, and she has some learning disabilities. So, um, my only issue with her is that she doesn't want to. She doesn't like paying for her services. So, uh, it's inconsistent with her. So, Michael Stowe says, "Show Sandy, what are you doing?" Carlos Angel says, "I studied the difference of Dostoevsky and Niece Debs in a South Florida prison after demanding the library on appeal. Two different worlds, huh? Interesting. Yeah, quite. Dostoevsky in prison. Wouldn't be surprised if you read like Tolstoy or what's that other Russian author? It's always difficult to pronounce his name. The one who wrote about the Soviet gulags. I can't remember his name. Oh, no, no problem, Robert. I didn't know if you had saw it or not because I thought you might have missed it when I showed the book. So no harm. Plus, others got to see it who didn't see it either. Mark Wright says, "Stumbled across you on live. Love this talk. You speak very intelligently. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mark." Bozo asks, "What happens this year?" As far as what you're talking about on the political climate or the, I mean, I can, there's so many things happening right now. I could speak for so many things. We got wars going on. We got presidential elections. We have some business things going on. We have things going on in entertainment. So you gotta be a little bit more specific. Excuse me. Xavier Miller says, "In your opinion, what was Marcus Garvey? Insane or depressed or logical man who knows what people when people are out to get us?" Um, Marcus Garvey. Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't want to say he's a grifter, but I know because I know he's sort of like the father of he's considered sort of like the father of the Black Power movement and Afrocentrism, and some of his points were merited, but overall, he comes off as someone who is a little bit of a grifter within the Black community. Like I said, some of his points were were well made, but overall, the movement that he started seemed a bit sketchy. Especially when you look at his history. Um, so he's one of those historical figures that you can't just put in one box. Like I said, as far as his movement, I think the movement was a little bit of a grift. Some of the points he made, yeah, they were good. Would I consider him one of my personal heroes? No. So the kid had agoraphobia. What kid? Who had agoraphobia? Diver Wiggerton says, "You definitely love Jews and Muslims." I definitely do. Yes, I do. I love, hey, I like all folks. Yes, I love Jews and Muslims. What's wrong with that? Should you not? Should you not? Yes, like I don't. You're kind of all over the place. First, you attack me as a Trumpist. Then you say I'm a leftist. Then you're saying I definitely. Then you say I definitely love Jews and Muslims. You're saying that like that's a bad thing. Isn't it good to say that you love both and not just one or the other? Or to say that you hate both? That's a little cuckoo. Decides well says, "If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?" Oh, I've actually answered this before. So mine would be super speed. And here's why. So first of all, to have any sort of superpower, usually it has to be a combo of superpowers together to work in tandem with each other. Because if you don't, if if you have only one superpower, you're probably gonna end up killing yourself because superpowers will rip apart the human body. Like super speed, if you were running um, at even close to relativistic speeds, it would be doomed for both you and anyone you whiz by. um, the body wouldn't be able to uphold at superhuman speeds. Um, so for super speed to work, the other powers that come along with it make it such an awesome power to have. So to have super speed, you will also have to have super durability, right? So, which means you would be very tough to hurt. Um, you would have to have super stamina to be able to, with to run at these super speeds. Also, you would have to have super mental processing because you have to be able to think while you're moving, which is why the Flash is so smart as he is. He can think at the same speed that he can move. Can you think how practical that would be for school, that that you could think at near relativistic speed? Like, you're doing midterms and finishing like within 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes for you is like 2 hours long. Like, you could be sitting there going over questions for you that felt like an hour, but took you like 5 minutes to complete that midterm. I would love it. You could studying every day would take a few minutes of time, like redoing, like going over your lecture notes and going over the chapter reviews and all that sort of stuff. All of that would take a matter of minutes. That in itself would sell me, that the fact that you have super perception along with super speed. The downsides of it is that you have to have money to, because you have to eat a lot of food. You have to consume massive amounts of calories to maintain super speed. Um, but it would be awesome to have the super perception, super durability, super endurance that is necessary for super speed. And but of course, you have to be careful where you run by people, because you could hurt someone running at superhuman speeds. But also, super speed gives you super strength because basic physics, right? That's why the Flash can generate what's called the infinite mass punch. When he runs at light speed, he can just charge up and then release an infinite mass punch, which can devastate Superman. So super speed would definitely be my superpower if I could only have one. But like I said, it's kind of cheating, because in order to have that super speed, I have to have a family of other superpowers to make super speed work. Sorry for that long answer, but you got me on the question that I love. Old Ed from Dasso says, "This is a man's world. I like to be gas man and control the power of gas." You mean like petroleum gas? I hope you mean like petroleum gas, right? um, big production says, "Are you black?" Yes, I am. Um, Old head from the south says, "Then bring the funk to the house." Jackie Ray says, "Sausage or meatballs, coach?" Hmm. Old head from the south says, "No, I'm blue." Oh, because he's answering the guy kept asking, "Is he black?" Jesus the way says, "Jesus saves." Daddy Jake says, "Looks quite white to me." So you guys are going back and forth with each other. Mm. Old head from the south says, "I'm a Smurf." Which one? Decides well. Mark Wright says speech is an indication of intelligence. Do you agree? Yes and no. So, like, so speech is sort of mentally encapsulated from other cognitive abilities. Um, Obviously has some crossover with intelligence, but not so much. So, for instance, there is a type of um, clinical retardation where the person is still very verbally they're very verbally astute. On first on first glance, or like first talking with them, you wouldn't realize that they have um, cognitive difficulties because they're very um, articulate and well spoken. But once you talk to them long enough, you realize some of the fragmentation in their thoughts. Um, and I think that's sort of mental retardation comes about by a sort of speech aphasia. Um, but it's speech is speech can give a clue to intelligence sometimes, but it's not necessarily connected. So, for instance, some of our greatest political leaders in the past, if they were judged by the standards of today, people would think they were stupid. Like Thomas Jefferson, is well known that he had a very horrible stutter, but he wrote the Declaration of Independence, one of the best written pieces of political speech that we've ever witnessed on the face of the earth. A glowing doctrine that tells an entire empire go fuck yourselves in the most articulate way ever. But if he had to actually recite his speech, the Declaration of Independence, in front of cameras and a microphone today, people would think he's a thundering idiot because of his stutter. And he's not the only one. There's been other intellectual giants in our past that have had horrible speech patterns, because speech pathology is not necessarily linked to other cognitive abilities dealing with intelligence or rationality. Um, but like I said, it can give you a clue, because usually someone who may be well spoken and so forth is somewhat intelligent, right? But it's not necessarily the case. Or look at people when they made fun of President W. Bush back in the early 2000s. Everyone thought he was a thundering idiot too. Um, but then when they did a look into his academic background, and he found out that both he and John Kerry, who was his political rival at the time, both had the same GPA at Yale University. So first of all, to be at Yale University, whether you got there through your parents or whatever, you still had to have enough intelligence to get through the major and graduate. So that's a clue. And we know, at least up until now, until the last 10 years, and up until the last 10 years, that the average the average IQ of a college graduate was 120 points, which puts you two centiles above the average person in America, which is 100 IQ score. That's the that's the average on a normal distribution curve. 100, it would be the average person. At 120, which is the average college graduate, they're already two centiles higher in IQ than the average person. And then if you consider grad school, it goes even higher. The average IQ of a person leaving grad school is 130, which is around the gifted range. So on top of that, he also had an MBA. I'm talking about W. Bush here, but like I said, most people thought he was stupid because he was rather inarticulate. Later on down the line, he gave interviews about his so-called Bushisms, and I've spoken about this before, saying that he actually spoke in a rough-hewn way deliberately because it made him more relatable to the average person. Only a smart person could realize that they need to dumb down their speech to relate to people that don't come from their same background. So yeah, so that's I know that was a long answer. Sorry. can can I get back to Batman? um, dude says James Stokes says, dude, there's like a 10-minute delay from the time we comment and when you read the comment. I know because I'm trying to get through all the comments, James. That's what I'm saying. But what I was telling you earlier is that when you kept saying, "Can I say this? Can I say that?" and I and everyone else in the chat room was just saying, "Just go ahead and state what you were going to state instead of saying, can you say it? Because I never said, no, you couldn't. As you sing, I haven't checked anyone on anything they said in the chat room. And, we've already had a few trolls in the chat room, and I didn't stop them from doing what they did. Instead, we just let Canel and the other guy just say what they had to say, and then we just ignored them and kept going. But I've never said, no, don't say it. And I know the delay is just me trying to get through all the comments. That's all. And I've tried to read everything that you or anyone else said. I didn't see any quote that proved me wrong. A quotation doesn't prove anyone wrong. And I did see what you said. It doesn't matter about a quotation. I'm talking about actual behavior, public records. Someone can say anything and it may not match up with their actual behavior. So I'm going to go with the behavior, not with what they said. What they said doesn't matter if it contradicts what they actually did. That's like a criminal saying, I didn't kill that person. Yeah, but we caught you dead-handed with the weapon in hand at the scene of the crime. It doesn't matter if you said you didn't do it. We caught you in the act. Vote for whom you want, but your opinions clearly don't come from your education. They come from white and Facebook quote memes. Stop listening to memes and start looking up actual quotes and documents. Quotes are useless. I look up news articles, reports. You can look at old C-SPAN videos. C-SPAN 1, C-SPAN 2, C-SPAN 3. Everything a politician does is a matter of public record. I don't need to look up quotes. That doesn't make any sense. Xavier Miller says, do I love Black Power Pan-Africanism? No, I don't. So first of all, the whole thing about Pan-Africanism is actually pretty ironic. So every pan-ethnic movement is a bit ironic because pan-ethnic movement started actually in Europe. You had like the it started with like the pan-Slavic movement and the what other group it was, both European. Most of those people who started like Pan-Africanism, or you had Pan-Asian movements and others, the people who started those pan-ethnic movements were all educated in Europe. So the irony of then coming back to these other countries and using a Eurocentric idea against Eurocentrism, I think it's pretty ironic. Now, if you mean also, do I consider myself like someone who wants to help with the Black community, then that's a different discussion. But I'm not for these little pan movements because, for one, like I said, for them to be against Eurocentrism, but is using a very Eurocentric concept itself is kind of ironic to me. And as far as Black Power itself, no, I'm not for it. I did a video on that too, Xavier. The reason being is that the Black movement's been around for 60 years and has produced no tangible benefits to it. I mean, the Black Power movement was around since Martin Luther King, and he was against it too because he saw it as self-defeating. On top of that, like I said, it's produced no tangible results within the 60 years that it's been around. The best thing that the Black Power movement has done was teach young Black people that they should be proud of their heritage. But beyond that, it doesn't help them become a better success in life, which is a marker of how useful such a ideology would be. It's become quite divisive within the Black community, and it always mutates into these different things that seem to actually just be about policing black people's behavior. So that's why I'm not for it. It decides what's oh head. I like that gas man. Interesting. So back to the other guy's question. I don't know if you guys saw it above when the guy asked me if I had one superpower, what would it be? And I said super speed. What would your guy's superpower be? It doesn't have to be realistic. It can be anything you want. I've asked that on my Facebook before too, and I got a whole bunch of responses. I think one of my female friends said she wish she could have. I don't know if it was like endless money or something like that. And I was like, yeah, it was useful. She wasn't talking about being rich. It was something about being able to produce resources whenever she wants, or something like that, which was something awesome I would have never even thought of. And Telefax says if I had a superpower, it would be making people do what I say and time manipulation. So, so you want mind control and time manipulation. That would make you a pretty powerful guy. The only thing about mind control, wouldn't you get tired of it after a while? If you could literally make anyone do anything you want at any time, didn't wouldn't that just take the fun out of life? that that would be my only good. Sort of like what's the king what's the myth about the Greek king mine not mine I forgot the name of the Greek king, but the one who everything he touched was gold. And he thought that was great until he couldn't even until he tried to touch his when his children and they turned gold, his wife turned gold, everyone anyone and everything he touched was gold. He realized it wasn't a blessing but a curse. I would think that would be the case with mind control too. Like um like it would just take all the fun out of life. Sort of like that other another superpower that which would be like telepathy, being able to read everyone's thoughts. And they did a funny movie about that back in the day with Mel Gibson, where he could listen to all the thoughts of women. I think it was called What Women Want. It was a funny movie, but that would quickly be turned sour if you could know what everyone was thinking, at least even every woman. Like, yeah, you can get some booty off of it, but after a while, you'd be like, man, I wish they could shut up, but you can't turn it off. Xavier Miller says you have Jewish power. Let's not say Jew, and European power, and Chinese power, and Arabic. Let's not say it. Power, and the minute. And we ask you brothers to even say black power is an issue. Shake my head. Every excuse to hate ourselves. No, it's not, man. Like I said, I've given quite a thought to it, and I'm coming from this from a psychological perspective as well as a political perspective. Like I said, as far as it being something that teaches young black people to value, to have a positive self concept is good. But beyond that, it just doesn't yield anything useful from it. And we know that because it's been around for the last 60 years. And even Martin Luther King was against it. And he was right. What has it done? Martin Martin's efforts have produced efforts. Malcolm's efforts produce results. What has Black Power done in the 60 plus years that it's done? It has done literally nothing. It's gotten to the point now that people in the Black Power community just bash other black men for not keeping in line like you're doing right now. Like that whole thing, like it, because I have a friend who's very much into that. So he and I are at the odds with that. But again, I can deal with people who have other social political views than myself just by not touching on those subjects that in which we disagree. But he's heavily into that, and I disagree with him wholeheartedly about it. Gold Street says, "What's up, my Arnie?" The science well says supporting powers. Yeah, you're onto something there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there was a guy who used to be on he used to be on the YouTube channel Nerdist, and then he had his own channel called Beyond Science. He broke down every superhero power and said why you don't really want them. But he was saying like some of these powers could be plausible if they work in tandem with each other. And like I said, the only way super speed will work, you have to have super durability so that your body can withstand the you know the pressure of running at those high speeds. You have to have super perception so that you can actually move. You can actually move with a purpose at those speeds. Otherwise, you would just fall over yourself. So you have to have super perception, which will help you academically, right? And you have to have super endurance to withstand running at that speed. Um, Now, I think that was it. But I was saying also and then also because of the super speed and the super durability, it would create super strength at least while you're moving at that super speed because you can hit when you hit anything at a high velocity, it creates more force, right? So I don't want to get into the physics of all that. Most of us know some of that from high school physics, right, or college physics. But yeah, so like the Flash can generate what's called the infinite mass punch when he moves at a relativistic speed. So yeah, that's the good thing. Like so, I was just thinking at it from a nerdy point of view. Like yeah, I would love to have super speed, but only if it worked in tandem with these other superpowers, so that I wouldn't kill myself by utilizing it. Because even the Jedi can do force speed, but you rarely see them doing it. And the way they try to explain it, beyond the fact that they made the mistake of not having them do it more often, like the way that Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan did in the Phantom Menace, when they were able to just use force speed and jet out of there, is that it puts a lot of taxation on the body, as it actually would. So that's why Jedi rarely utilize force speed, and when they do it, it's only at a very short burst because it would literally like rip them apart. So Xavier, I don't see your point, man. You're saying I would go buy McDonald's and Burger King and Chinese food and halal food and all that shit. Yes, I would. I love McDonald's. McDonald's is freaking delicious. I have old McDonald's Happy Meal things here in my in my little man cave here, as well as some Happy Meal toys that I've kept. Yeah, it's delicious. So is Burger King. So is Chinese takeout. And halal is not an ethnicity. Halal is the Muslim equivalent of kosher. You realize that probably half of Africa is Muslim. So if you're some sort of black power person, why would you be against halal food? I can go into the hood. I can go somewhere here in Baltimore into Park Heights and buy me some halal food. What's wrong with that? 11 Bang Bang say, yo, what's up? What's good? What's going on, 11 Bang Bang? So I'm guessing your former infantry or you current you active duty. But yeah, as soon as I saw 11 Bang Bang, I said, oh yeah, that man's army infantry there. Gold 777 Street says, what the Trump? Coin said, hello mates, how's it going? What's up, Coin? Where you from, buddy? Gold Street says, don't need the brain doc 1 2. Sugar Ray. If that's a song, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. Magnus Carson, no IQ test. Doctor what where Doctor Who what where says what source did you get these numbers? What numbers? I know, and I'm sorry guys. I know I'm like usually like 10 minutes behind what you've already written, but I'm trying to catch I'm sorry, every comment. Plus I like to give like a full answer to people so they don't think I'm just looking at the comments and then just scrolling on by and not paying attention to what they say. I try to give everyone equal attention. So I don't know what numbers you're talking about. Were you talking about when I was talking about IQ scores? because again, if you're asking me where I got that from, it's because I have a background in psychology, and one of the fields, psychometry, deals with standardized testing and intelligence scores and all that sort of stuff. So I'm quite well familiar with that. Oh, Gold 777 Street says American. Doctor Who What Wear says W. He's referring to W. Bush, guys. Had alcoholic foggy brain syndrome. He dealt with alcoholism, um, but he was he didn't drink by the time he was president or whatever. Like he acknowledged it, so it's not anything he denied. But I don't think he had any problems. Again, his inarticulate verbal behavior was usually deliberate, and he said that himself in speeches that he sometimes used these Bushisms or these moments of apparent like verbal gaffes to make himself more relatable to the average person who may not relate to a person who has the mental lexicon of a Yale graduate, as well as having an MBA from an Ivy League school. I think he was called the first MBA president, by the way, because most people in politics usually have a law degree. Gold 777 Street says like the children. I'm sorry I can't read your name, sir, because it's an um language I don't know. But how are you? Dylan Pickle says hello from Germany. Hey, I see you back, Dylan. What's up? Doctor Who What Wear says I hear you be a voice, not an echo. That's my motto. And guys, if some comments I skip, it's just because either it's something repetitive or it's just too inane to like repeat. So, oh, that's my little buzz. I think it's about time for me to get off. I'm supposed to be going to the gym if my friend's still going. Gold 777 Street says, yeah, right. Ta-da. Oh, I think someone's birthday coming up? I got a notice. Sorry, guys. Let me check this very, very, very quickly. Nope. Okay. Good stuff. Decides well says actions credits or discredits one's word. Exactly. Xavier Miller says, if I asked you if you love Christians or Muslims or Jews, you say yes. Again, how is that a bad thing? I really don't understand. This is why I don't agree with people who are Black Power and Pan Africanists. Every group you named are also Black people. There are Black people who are Jewish. There are Black people who are Muslim. There are Black people who are Christian. I mean, have you heard of the Ethiopian Jews? Muslims, like I said, um, at least half to a third of Africa are Muslims, as well as American Muslims here, both the Muslims who come from the Nation of Islam or come from the Sunni background. I don't think there's too many Shiite Black people, but I think most of the Sunni Muslims in America, most of the Muslims in America are Sunni, I believe. But I don't want to get into the divide between the Shia and Sunni. Not here. And of course, the overwhelming amount of Black people are Christians. So again, I don't get what your point is. It doesn't make sense, my friend. I'm not trying to bash you. And like I said, you can believe what you want to believe. I just said I don't think you asked me a question and I answered you. I don't think the Black Power movement, the ideology behind it is coherent. That's my issue with it. Because under real world tests, it's yield no results within the 60 plus years that it's been about. When you have something that's been around for so long and it yields no results, that's good evidence that it's not a good idea. Like communism. That science well says the ability to understand the minds of others. That would be a superpower. Stephen Tracy says the thing is the minds of others uh, don't matter when others are based in feelings that dictate beliefs about things rather than logic and reason. I have to agree. Why do I get the feeling that I'm not going to? Um, Stephen Tracy says a lot of the sevens. Sorry, if there was a typo, I'm sorry. Because usually when I'm reading the comments, if I see typos, I just automatically correct it when I'm saying it here. Um, Decisive says, "Will give me the best enjoyment out of life to see the perspectives of things I would not have the time to understand on my own." That's one of the great things about reading. Um, so just to offer that to be a bibliophile or a lover of books, that's one of the best ways to learn about a diversity of viewpoints that you wouldn't get just from being in any particular place or time. Books can take you to every time and place, even to places and times that don't exist or never existed, to give you a more mentally um, divergent viewpoint of things. So, hashtag read more books. Or like my friend Bomani Arma, guy out of DC, there was a rapper and one of my fellow Terp alums. He used to have a song that went kind of viral 20 years ago, said read a book, read a book, read a book, motherfucker, read a book. so so Stephen Tree says mind control is not about controlling the minds of others, it's about controlling your own mind and self. Well, no, there's self-control and then mind control. Like we all have self-control. That's actually another cognitive ability of self-control. Um, it's actually a famous psychology experiment that does that developmental psychologists used to use on children to and we use as a predictor of how much self-control they will have in their further life. I forgot what the test is, but basically you offer them a treat, and I'm sure some of you've heard this. You offer them a treat either now or they can get two treats later, and the ones who exercise good self-control will wait till later to get the two treats as opposed to getting the one treat now. Um, and what you'll see is that the ones who exhibit higher self-control would do things to delay to offset their longing for the treat now. Like they would do something like go play, or what, or do something to kind of get it out their mind. They want that treat right now, and is been used as a predictor of self control in adults later on. But then there was um, unfortunately, some statistical flaws in the research that said that that may not necessarily be true. That's a good predictor of self control later on in life. But it's still an interesting test and shows that self control is a very important and overlooked cognitive ability that we possess. But mind control itself would be considered a supernatural power because we just don't have that ability to wield on others, at least not in the form that you see in comic books. Right? So when we think about people like Professor X or Jean Grey, since we know X-Men 97, what's up? Watch that. It's good. um, Start scraping then flying bread. Um, Baby Buzz's Black Power Brothers Stay Black. Wise Up 786 says, I'm in Miami, gotta try halal food. Right. But like the guy was bashing halal. What's wrong, guys? What's wrong with halal food? Halal food is freaking delicious. Like, who doesn't have like a deli, if you're in the New York tri-state, a bodega, um, convenience store or whatever that sells like, halal food. Um, and it's basically the same as kosher, except there's some minute differences between halal and kosher. That halal, I think, allows uh, seafood that kosher doesn't. I think that's the biggest difference. But yeah, I was like, what's wrong with halal food? Like, it used to be a little deli I used to go to. I used to order food from all the time that, had steak subs and whatnot. And I used to, food was freaking delicious. I mean, unless you wanted some pork, you're not getting pork from them. But if you're not wanting something pork based, they had your back. The food was delicious. What would be wrong? I don't even, like I said, his whole view is incoherent to me. Like, he was like, if he wanted to say fast food is bad for you, I would have understood that. But to just name off random fast food franchises and then lump that with halal food and say, you must like that stuff. Yes, I like that stuff. What's wrong with that stuff? Then he said, you must love Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Yes. What would be wrong with loving those three groups? The three groups who've been warring against each other for like the last uh 2,000 years, to say that you love all three groups. What's wrong with that? And to and to, and to say that you're Black Power and not realize that all three of those groups contain Black people is crazy. Yeah, Wise Up 786 said nothing was wrong with Bush's self. Remember how he dodged those? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, remember that? I remember. Yeah, that the guy threw those. That man was. That man's weaving was his slipping skills. And this is a guy in his 60s dodging like that. Shh, I can't. There's people in their 20s I know that don't have good head movement like that, and I know because I spar with people. Shit. He's mentally astute. This high school says, since you read books and watch shows, yeah. Since you read books and watch shows like Batman, do you read manga and watch anime? Darn tootin'. So it's so much now that Disney Plus has merged with Hulu. There's so much anime out there. I can't even keep up with it. Like right now, I'm currently watching the fourth season of um Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? I'm watching that. Watching Dr. Stone, uh, Fire Force, um, so many. They just released the second season of Blood of Zeus on Netflix. I'm watching that. Black Clover. Um, I'm watching old Mobile Suit Gundam movies from the early '80s. Uh, a bunch of anime, and I do have some manga. I have the since you asked, I got a few manga. Like first of all, I got, since I like Batman, I also have da-da-da, Bat manga. Oh, sorry, that's the Bat Bat manga. So there was a manga artist that wrote a Batman, Jiro Kawada. I'm probably butchering that name. Sorry. He did a Batman manga. There's also another Japanese artist who did one named Asamiya, called The Child of Dreams. This was good. But no, I have pure manga, not just Batman manga. I have one by One Piece, but it's folded up in some other stuff, so I'm not gonna pull it out. But I have, the Dragon Ball Z, the first volume. I have my Death Note. It's a real Death Note. Delete, 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 delete. Man, I wish this was real. I wish, for those who don't know Death Note, go watch that series. Awesome. And I just finished reading this new One Piece. One Piece thing. And I said One Piece earlier. I didn't actually mean One Piece. The other manga I have is not One Piece. It's a one One Punch Man. This is One Piece. Is a new thing called Ace's Stories. Is a whole prequel about the beginning of Ace. And this first issue was released on Free Comic Book Day last week. Showed how he got his devil Devil Fruit Powers. So definitely into manga. Not as much as into like DC and Marvel and so forth, but as you can see, I like I'm a well-rounded nerd. I like all that stuff. So yeah. Sorry, let me get my stuff here. I took it out of place. I got so much stuff folded up because I'm going to be moving this stuff when I go back overseas. And I went to like anime conventions like the Otakon that used to be in Baltimore. Now it's in DC because it's a bigger venue they can hold in DC as opposed to in Baltimore at the new, I think, Washington Convention Center. So this is the one that had the One Punch Man manga in it, and it's like all the stuff I got from like I think the last Otakon I've been to in DC. When I was in Tokyo, I picked up. Wait, do I have that here? No, I don't have it on me. I was going to show you. There's a hentai manga that I have. I wasn't going to open it up, but I have a hentai manga too. For those who know what hentai is, if you know, you know. But I bought that at a 7-Eleven in Tokyo when I was in Shibuya. Okay, so uh, I'm not going to say too much about that, but I think that answers your question. I knew it. I knew someone was going to say it. Delphin said he looks like the guy that plays War Machine and Iron Man. That actor's name is Don Cheadle. I keep getting people saying I look like Don Cheadle. I don't think I do, but if people think that, then that's fine. I mean, I don't judge other men by how they look, but I wouldn't be mad at it. Personally, I think I look a little bit better, but whatever. um, in any case, let me put this stuff back, guys. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I love manga and anime too. I've been, being a Gen X guy, I've been into I've been into anime since the early 80s when it came to like Voltron and Robotech. For those who don't know, Robotech was actually 3 different Japanese shows that were edited and made into one show here in America called Robotech, but it was based off of Macross and 2 other shows because the characters were different, but they bundled it into one show through a lot of editing. But you can look at it now and see that it's all over the place. CJ Williams says you're white in the inside. So not true, but if it was, so is that supposed to hurt my feelings? And you guys really need to stop policing other black people, because you guys will do to each other what you don't want white people to do to you. You don't want white people to put you all in one box, right? You'll say, oh, that's racist, saying we're all like this or we're all like that. But then you'll do it to each other and not realize the hypocrisy in doing so. What exercise routine is good for getting rid of a gut? So I've spoken about this before. So here's the good news and bad news on that. So the problem with people saying they want to lose their gut, the way fitness works, or the way physiology works, you can't spot reduce fat. When you reduce bodily fat, you're reducing it all over. So you have to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to lose fat everywhere on your body, not just that visceral fat on your stomach, right? Having said that, the best thing I believe is cardio, like simply like running like 20 minutes a day will reduce that. And then I would do some flutter kicks with that. I'm not going to demonstrate flutter kicks right now, but you can definitely on YouTube look up how to do flutter kicks, and that will give you a better looking appearance physically of the stomach, because most people will do sit-ups and crunches, but sit-ups and crunches only hits the top two muscles of the stomach. Those aren't the ones you need to worry about, because most people, when they want that nice shape in the waistline, they want that little V cut that goes down to the groin, right? To get that little V cut, flutter kicks. That's what you want. It works more of the lower abdominals that'll show more prominently when you get that, when the fat is reduced. And I say do that with cardio, hit those flutter kicks, and a caloric reduction, because the only way you're going to lose weight is if you're taking in less calories than you need. So calorie reduction, cardio, hit the flutter kick so you can get that nice V cut that everyone likes seeing. So I understood what you meant when you said get rid of gut. Micro Mark said, I have gay. Can you help me, please? I don't know what that means. I have gay. I swear that sounds like a old something, an old character from a Saturday Night Live from 30 years ago that said giant robot, the show. Not the movie. Not the movie. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Iron Giant. That I don't remember Giant Robot. If Giant Robot, you mean Transor Z? Is that what you're talking about? Transor Z back in Japan was Mazinger Z. Was called Mazinger Z, which was part of the I think they were called the robot Shoguns or something like that. It was actually a bunch of them, and Transor Z or Mazinger Z was the one they showed here in America. Yep, flutter kicks. Look it up, but again, don't just do the flutter kicks. Do the cardio too, because you can't remember. Like I said, you can't spot reduce fat. That's like the biggest misperception people have when it comes to like fitness, when it comes to weight loss, is that they think they can spot reduce fat. You can't spot reduce fat. When you lose bodily fat, you're losing it everywhere, not just at the intended target. So Troy saying, excuse me, Troy Smith saying something about his uncle taught him how to kiss. Sounds like a question for you and law enforcement to work out there, buddy. Even though I'm pretty sure you're trolling, but if it was legit, that's a question for you and law enforcement. So sorry, but I don't take trolls seriously. Like I said, if that's something that really happened, I think the statute of limitations is still open to you. You can pursue that through legal routes. If you're trolling, whatever. I'm about to end this though, guys. Like I said, I was intended to talk about Batman, so I'm gonna go into my little tirade about Batman that I intended on saying. Basically, I wanted to get to the fact that I didn't like the movie The Batman that came out 2 years ago as much as I thought I would, or hoped I would. So like I said, I initially had reservations about the movie because Robert Pattinson was playing Bruce Wayne in Batman, and he looks physically unlike him. And that was very well met out. The movie was actually pretty good. Like, it was based on like some thrillers from the 90s. One was Seven, with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and the other one was, I think, The Zodiac Killer or something like that. So it's based on those two movies. So the Riddler sort of played that sort of trope from those two movies. So that was awesome. The Riddler was well done. The movie was well paced. Some people thought it was boring, a little slow. I mean, that's usually how thrillers go. The problem is people went into it thinking it was going to be a superhero movie, and the director explicitly stated it wasn't going to be like a thriller. It wasn't going to be like a superhero movie. It was going to be like a thriller, like those 90s movies, Seven and The Zodiac Killer, or whatever it was called. I took no issue with that. My only problem with the whole movie was Batman himself. He he was not like Batman. Like I said, he would have been better. He would have been better suited to play Nightwing, which is Dick Grayson as an adult, than Batman. Like he, first of all, he was too frail. He looked too damn frail, and he was emo. No one wants to see an emo Bruce Wayne. Like, yes, Bruce Wayne is moody. He broods and is, quietly to himself in the dark. But this, but this guy didn't play a good Bruce Wayne. Like Bruce Wayne, Batman is so. Even according to this book, Batman Psychology, Batman is his actual persona. Bruce Wayne is the alter ego. But in the movie, they get it wrong. Like he's moody and antisocial and standoffish as Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne was always supposed to be affable. Um, no, he was like an affable, sort of carefree guy. That was a persona, though. So even if they got it right that, Bruce Wayne, like the real person underneath, was a moody, brooding person, Bruce Wayne's as an alter ego of the real Batman was not like that. He should have been an affable, likable sort of person. He just came off like some little emo punk, mad at the world when you're a multi-billionaire. Like how are you fooling people that you're not Batman when you're acting the same way? Like I say, scrawny. He didn't have any of the moves of a ninja. I'm like, okay, so we just gonna go walking up to doors and knocking like we're the police now. Like that's what Batman does now. And people kept saying, well, this is a more grounded and realistic Batman. I was like, no, it's not. Literally, the whole Dark Knight trilogy by Christopher Nolan was a realistic portrayal of Batman, much more than the Batman. Like the Dark Knight trilogy was basically Christopher Nolan saying, what would Batman be like if we put him in the real world? So Matt Reeves' version in the Batman, which is now considered an Elseworlds Batman, is not more grounded in reality than Christopher Nolan's Batman starring Christian Bale. Simply not. Um, he just lacks more of the characteristics of Batman. Like I say, he goes knocking on doors and talking with police, doing investigation scenes instead of staying in the dark and whatever. Like, and I get it. They want to be him. They wanted to show him more as a detective. If he's supposed to be a brilliant detective, why is he getting caught up on a Spanish double entendre, La Rata or whatever, about a flying rat and all this sort of stuff? Like, Bruce Wayne is a polyglot. A polyglot is someone who can speak like a dozen or so languages fluently. And Bruce Wayne, we know, is a polymath and has genius level intellect. He wouldn't have got caught up on a simple Spanish double entendre. The problem with writing about brilliant characters in movies is that they are only as smart as the people writing about them for those movies. So if the screenwriters and directors aren't that particularly bright, then neither will be the character. And you can tell that, like, having them get caught up on La Rata or flying, and being confused about talking about a flying rat and a bat, and that was just stupid. I'm sorry. And then the scene that offended me the most, and that people just don't care about, was when he was just walking through open gunfire, and people's like, "Well, he's wearing body armor. It'll show how tough he is." I was like, it doesn't matter how tough he is. There's a such thing as Newtonian mechanics, my dude. Like, if you getting machine gun fire hitting you square in the chest, it's gonna knock you on your ass. And even the other movies from the 1989 Batman film made by Tim Burton with Michael Keaton, and the Dark Knight trilogy, when someone got hit, even when they were wearing body armor, it knocked them on their ass, because that's what would really happen. But he's just walking through it like he's Superman. Like, that wasn't, like, how is that well grounded in reality? And then everyone tried to, dismiss these criticisms as, well, this is Batman year one. This isn't the Batman that we're used to. I'm like, first of all, shut up. you didn't read Batman Year One, and you probably didn't even read Batman Year Zero, and you didn't read DC Secret Origins, and you probably never read Detective Comics number 27 or Batman number one, because in all of those, Batman has always had his the training and all his abilities before he put on the costume. Putting on the costume and becoming Batman was the last step, not the first step or the mid step. He was already trained as a martial artist and ninja, and people would say, well, he got better over time. No, he wasn't. He was literally already an expert. He was an expert in 127 empty-handed styles, including ninjutsu. One of the styles he mastered was was a Kryptonian martial art that Superman introduced to him. And I think they learned it from going to the bottle city of Kandor. But he's even mastered a Kryptonian martial arts style. He knows 127 martial arts styles. So you're gonna tell me that he needs to work it out on the streets first in Batman Year Zero? Also, Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins is based on Batman Year One. So again, the Batman wasn't doing anything that the Dark Knight trilogy didn't already do. It just made it more dark and broody. That's the only difference. It just, and then taking the gun that shot his parents and turned it into his bat symbol. I guess that's a matter of taste there. So, but yeah, he wasn't very Batman. Like I said, he wasn't like a ninja. And people try to say, well, he's not a ninja. I'm like, yes, he is. Like, that's one of the most well-known things about Batman is that he's a ninja. And then saying, well, this is a Batman still in development because this is Batman Year Zero. Like, no, I've read the book. I literally have it on my bookshelf right now. I've watched the animated version of Batman Year One. And we have Batman Begins by Christopher Nolan, all based on Batman Year One. He already had all the skills prior to putting on the costume, so I'm not going to hear that. Or people saying, oh, well, this is more grounded in reality. Oh, okay, then explain the cartoon physics of him walking through machine gun fire. I was like, anyone who's been in the military or law enforcement, that's bullshit. So that was my rant against the movie The Batman and why I hope that the sequel that comes out next year will be better. And I think it comes out in 2025. Now I'll get back to the comments. Bother me now, say he's smoking fentanyl at Taco Bell. Why is it 786 says Gen X are the most informational and rugged gen ever? Yeah, I mean, because they say we're the last of the we're the last generation before everyone was glued to their phones and to the internet. So we grew up in an age where we had both. We had a childhood that was analog, and like a teenage or adult years that was digital. So we got the best of both worlds. And usually the funny thing was, even though we stayed out all the time, our parents would say we're not outside enough. I probably went outside every day after school. Parents said I still didn't go outside enough because I used to like being inside, playing with my computer, playing Nintendo, watching the after school cartoons like G.I. Joe and Transformers and all that. Or I would be reading my books. But I went outside like every day. I had a dirt bike. That dirt bike had so many miles on it. And they had no idea where I went when I was in, like going outside. Like I went all the way to the other side of the community to other communities. Or the distance I went to just to get to the library, especially during the summer. During the summer, I might hit the library like almost every day. When I moved back to Maryland from Illinois, I didn't have my dirt bike anymore. They gave me a 10-speed bike, and I hated the 10-speed bike, so I would just walk instead of ride my bike, and I would walk an hour up the street just to get to the library, especially during the summer, and enjoy the air conditioning and read books, mostly martial arts books and science books and stuff like that, and then walk all the way back home with these books that I checked out. So that's what separates Gen X from the later generations. I don't think they're given that freedom like nowadays. Parents, if they were allowed to parent their kids to roam like we roam, they would be considered um, negligent. So I roasted. I didn't see the Tom Brady roast yet, but I've seen so many clips of it that I'm probably not gonna watch the full show on Netflix. I know they eviscerated his wife, but and people are mad about that. I'm like, first of all, his wife cheated on him, dogging out his wife. Sorry, the live just had a glitch, guys. But Johnny West, yeah, I didn't see the roast of Tom Brady, but I've seen clips of it, like with Dana Bash and some other folks, which was kind of funny. What was the funniest was even though it was a roast of Tom Brady, people were roasting the shit out of Kim Kardashian. I was like, yo, that's funny. To her credit though, she took it on the chin. They dogged the shit out of her, but she took it on the chin. That's for sure. Uh, that 15ER said, "What's your opinion of Donald Trump?" I literally just went over that earlier, sir. I really don't want to regurgitate it, but I have like literally a dozen or so videos, YouTube shorts, as well as some discussions with a friend on my political views and why I'm going to vote for him this time around, but I didn't the last two times. Um, Wise Up says I just showed my nephews the movie The Reanimator. They were laughing and scared at the same time. I haven't watched that yet. I don't think. No, I haven't watched that. I thought I did, but nope. That um remind me that's a horror movie, right? The Reanimator. That's like some like cheesy '80s horror flick. Because I know the title, but I never watched it. I can't remember what it was about. But after I just went to that tirade against the Batman, does anyone disagree with me? Like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's a bad version of Batman in the movie. Like if you took him out of the movie and replaced him with someone else, it would be a better movie. Horror Mad Scientist. Yeah, like I said, I remember it being like a horror movie, but I never saw it. But it might be something worth checking out. There's some things on my list, especially on my Amazon Fire Stick that I have that I've been meaning to watch. Then there's some movies that I want to watch with my wife too, like some classic movies that I love that she hasn't seen yet, but are like classics to me. Like almost all my favorite movies I've made her watch so far. So she watched the Star Wars, the original trilogy with me. I think she watched the prequels on her own. Yeah, she watched the prequels on her own, but she watched the Star Wars trilogy with me. And it's funny because we're watching this like in 2017, I think. And again, she's never saw Star Wars, right? So I know this belongs in my Star Wars Day conversation last week, but bear in mind with me. So she's watching that with me, and we are at the end of Empire Strikes Back, and Darth Vader says, "Luke, I am your father." And she turns around to me. She was like, "Baby, is that true?" I just smiled. I was like, "Yeah, that's true." She was like, "Wow." I was like, "I know, right?" I was like, "That's literally like the." I was like, "That was the biggest thing when that movie first came out." So she got hooked on Star Wars, watching that with me. Like she was hooked on that. Like she did not see that. Like we, it's been around with us for like 40 years now, so we all know, you know, Lucas, Darth's son, and such and such. But her coming from a fresh perspective of not being from America, so not knowing this, because a lot of people know this who've never even watched Star Wars, that Darth Vader and Luke are a father and son, but she never known that, and that just blew her mind. And like, so we watched other stuff. I had her watch the classic Indiana Jones trilogy with me. I let her watch the the one with Shia LaBeouf a few months ago. So I don't really like that one, but I told her I'll watch that again over watching this new one. I watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls before I watch that new one that just came out. Because that was done by Disney, who just bastardized it and made Indiana Jones a grumpy old man who wanted to die. So I can't watch that out of respect for the character. Even though I love Harrison Ford, I couldn't watch them just mess his whole personality up. Um, I had her watch. Well, I had her and her whole family during Christmas. We watched Gremlins back that same year too, 2017. It was funny, and it's funny because his brother had made fun of her other sister, saying the sister's nose looked like Gizmo. He said it in Tagalog, which was funny because my wife told me what he said. She just said, he's like, my brother just said my sister's nose looked like Gizmo. I was like, oh, that's messed up. But so I had them watch that. Uh, I thought she had watched Die Hard with me, but I asked her just yesterday. She said no, so that's on the list for her is to watch Die Hard with me, the original Die Hard, because I could have swore we had watched that together, and to watch Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, because I told her the trilogy Star Trek 2, 3, and 4 has been compared to the Star Wars trilogy 7, 8, and 9. I mean, sorry, 4. Sorry, that's blasphemy. 4, 5, and 6. um, as far as how good they are. So she's gonna check that out with me, see if I can turn her into a Trekkie. But anyway, I don't see any more comments, so I'm guessing it's time to wrap this up. Again, this was supposed to be about Batman, but like I said, you could ask me anything, and I was all over the place. um, but yeah, as much as I'm a huge Star Wars fan, I'm also a huge Batman fan. Batman 89, Batwing. um, got so much Batman stuff around here. It's ridiculous. So, and I've shown this stuff in my other videos, so nothing new here. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to clean this stuff up because I'm got my collectibles falling all over the place. Anyway, thanks guys for chiming in. I hope Xavier didn't take it personally that I disagree with him, but again, I'm just not into the pro blackity black stuff because I'm into results. And if after 60 plus years an ideology doesn't produce results, I'm going to assume that that's because it's not a good ideology. Because it had over a half a century to produce something, and it didn't, other than division. Goodness says hi. What's up, Goodness? Um, uh, I'm from Maryland, the United States. But you actually came in on the end of this, Goodness. I'm sorry. Like I said, this was basically a random stream about Ask Me Anything, but I was trying to go into like a whole thing about Batman, but it went all over the place like it always does. And look like everyone is off to do things because it's a Saturday. For some people, this might be Sunday morning if they're on the other side of the world, but it's Saturday evening here on the East Coast of the United States. So I'm about to go. I was supposed to go to the gym earlier, see if I can still go to get out the house. If there's no other questions, superpowers, stuff about Batman or anything, I'll let you guys go. Oh, and for the record, since I bashed the movie The Batman, it's only fair to say what was my favorite one. I think I kind of made that clear that Batman 1989 was my favorite one. Oh no, Canel is back. So Of course, he would come back as this is ending. Guys, for those who don't know, the guy Canel Zoid is a troll. Don't engage him because you're just feeding the trolls. And like I said, he's probably a kid that just has nothing better to do, as most trolls are, or he's someone who's just mentally ill. But a lot of these trolls are just kids, and they think it's funny. How are you, Jay? I'm doing well. Like I said, if you guys just jumping into the chat, I'm about to actually end this. But this was a ask me anything sort of platform. But my um, stated topic was actually Batman. He's my favorite superhero. I went into a whole tirade of why I didn't like the portrayal of him in the 2022 movie The Batman. So, and that was pretty much it. Oh, then I got into a long conversation with someone who kept saying that Batman was actually insane, and I said that's not actually true because I actually have a whole book on his psychology and the psychology of his rogues gallery. And the worst aspect of him, besides him being lonely, is that he suffers from clinical depression, but he's not insane. So if the only responses I'm getting is from Canel, I'm gonna take I'm gonna end this. And again, he doesn't realize that I'm showing him or her grace because I didn't ban him from the channel, which I could easily do. But if he does appear on the next live stream and it bothers people, then I'll take him out because I know he was bothering one of the um people earlier, Laura. I know he was upsetting her, and I don't want a troll to upset other people who might otherwise want to contribute or ask me questions or whatever. Actually, no, you won't, Canel, because I can block you anytime I want. You know that, right? And if you pop up on any other under any other username, it will block you from because of your IP address. It won't just block your handle; it will block your IP address. So, um, right now, I'm gonna put you in timeout. I timed him out, guys, because he's drowning out other people who might want to leave a message. So that's how you deal with trolls. Like I said, I let him get his little thing out because, like I said, he's either just some obnoxious kid or he's someone who has deep mental health problems. Either way, it shouldn't be our problem, right? Um, but having said that, I guess we're about out of time here. It's been like 2 hours. My iced coffee is melted. I actually spilled, unfortunately, a lot of it, which I'm kind of upset about. I need to make some more if I'm gonna go to the gym because I don't do the pre-workout. I just do the only thing I use before a workout is like iced coffee. Sometimes I might add a little protein shake to it. I mean, protein mix to it, like muscle milk. But that's it. I don't do the pre-workout before hitting the gym. I think that stuff is not healthy for you. Yeah, I know people say I look like Don Cheadle before. Again, I don't have a problem with it, but I think I look better than Don Cheadle. Just saying, because I'm in better shape than he is. Albeit he's like 10 years, probably like 10 to 15 years older than I am. Maybe 20 years older than I am. Because he's been around for a while. Like he was in his 30s in the 90s. So I think Don Cheadle has to be pushing 60. But in any case, again, I'm not mad at it. I'm not going to say the brother is ugly because, for one, I don't judge other men that way, and two, um, like I said, I don't have issues with the way the brother looks, but I do think I look better than him. But if people see similarities, that's cool. I used to be compared to Omar Epps a lot when I was younger. Of course, now Omar Epps is out of shape. He got the big round face now. But back when he played in the movie Juice or like in Love and Basketball and some other movies, I used to get those comparisons all the time. Helped me out with girls too, because they was like, yeah, he does look like that. And they liked it, so that was up. But in any case, I guess that's about it. No one's really, I think everyone is off doing better things right now, as they should on a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning, whichever time of the day it is where you live right now. But I appreciate you jumping in, Jay. I will be doing other live streams. You can check out my previous ones or my other videos. Um, and again, like to Xavier, thanks for the debate. Again, we don't have to agree with each other to hold each other in mutual respect. But that's it, guys. I think that's it there. Unless there's one less comment, because I know that I'll be saying stuff and someone's bitterly typing something. Because I've done that before too, and it sucks that I've been on someone live stream and I'm about to type something and they just end it. And I'm like, damn, I was just about to send this. But you can still send it on the comment section. I still see everything in the comment section, and I answer stuff in the comment section as well. All right, but this was about Batman. Didn't really get too much into Batman as I hoped, but um, I think maybe the next time live stream, I might I might do one about my bug out bag. Oh, here's one last question. That's why I'm glad I waited. So Luke 7777 says, "Sir, what do you think about white people? Do you think we can get along?" Um, yeah, absolutely. Why shouldn't we? Like I said earlier on in the stream, if people could get past their political views, they will see that most people, like say like here in America, are more alike than not alike in their day to day behaviors and desires and so forth. So, but people rather see people from their political identity or from their racial identity. And, you know, David says, "Hi, are you white?" I'm guessing he's talking to Luke because obviously I'm not, if you can see me. um, Luke says, "I'm from the EU and I see that in America it is very divided." Very much so. Very much so. And things are going to be hyper divisive right now because we're in the midst of a presidential election where it's unprecedented. We have two people that are very disliked and who are extremely old to be running for president. One is 81, the other one's 79. So they're not even boomers. They're the silent generation. The silent generation is older than the boomers. Um, One has been, well, they're both calling both candidates racist for different reasons. It's just a lot going on with this election. And originally, I was going to bow out of it until I just had reasons to want to not bow out this time around and be apathetic about it. Replace Don Cheadle with as Iron Man. I mean, as War Machine. Shoot, I would love it, but I don't think they can do another switch. They already switched out the actor one time back from Iron Man 1 to Iron Man 2. I don't think they're gonna do it a third time. And I think he's gonna do an appearance in Captain America in the Captain America 4 movie. I think he's going to have an appearance in that or in the Thunderbolts movie. So I think he's going to be in either one of those movies or both of them. So looks like they extended his contract because most of the MCU contracts for those guys was like about 10 years long and they ended. So the ones who are still there had um, probably renewed their contract for another 10 years or something. So, oh, you're welcome, Luke. Have a good one. What part of the EU are you from? Like I said, I've been to Germany. I plan on going back and exploring like that whole part of Western Europe when I go back. So, in any case, I'm out, guys. Appreciate it. Again, go read a Batman comic book or any sort of comic book or manga, but read some Batman. Um, Check out the movies. Like I said, I can't recommend the Batman with Robert Pattinson just because I don't think it sticks very well with how the character is supposed to be. But then people might say the same thing about Batman played and by Ben Affleck under Zack Snyder. So, hi Brianna, how are you? Oh, you're in Slovenia. Okay, where Luka Doncic is from. That name sounds familiar. Who is Luka Doncic? Is that a dude in the NBA? I can't remember because I'm not a sports guy. So if he's someone in sports, I wouldn't know who that is. I don't remember. What time of day is it over there in Brianna and Kenya? Media Main says Palestine or Israel. I've talked about that before. I'm not getting to another political discussion towards the end of the stream. Angel de la Cruz says, "How do you feel about God?" Armenia is making some banana emojis. First of all, I don't know how bananas got affiliated with monkeys, nor as an insult to black people. But let's be clear here: bananas are freaking delicious, and I eat them all the time to keep from getting Charlie horses because of the potassium. Um, One of the main electrolytes that you need to replace, you know, after like doing a long run like I do, since I run every day, is potassium, and bananas are very useful for that. So, but if you're gonna keep making racist stuff, again, you're not gonna offend me. But if you're gonna offend other people in the chat room, I'll time you out because I don't get offended, but I don't want you offending other people in the chat room who might take offense to the racist stuff that you're implying with emojis or whatever, because it's very troll-like behavior. Just be a decent person, be a decent human being. You wouldn't act like that to someone in real life. One, because they will punch you in the mouth, especially here in Baltimore. You might get something worse in Baltimore. And since you're from, I guess, from Armenia or wherever, you don't know the realities of Baltimore City. Anyone in the chat room who's from America can tell you that. But having said that, again, you're not going to offend me, but you might offend those folks, and I don't want you offending other people in the chat room by your corny insults. Like, and my thing is, I'm Gen X, so I come from an era where we just made jokes on each other as a pastime. So if you're gonna make jokes about someone, at least make them good. He is. Oh yeah, the white guy from the NBA. I knew it. I knew that was a. I always see. I don't even watch the NBA, and I knew it was someone from the NBA. So I get some credit for that, right? I gotta get some credit for that because I didn't even know, but I guess there was someone from the NBA because it sounded the name was familiar. 2:36 a.m. Well, why are you up so late? Are you just because it's Saturday? Being up from um being up that late, coming back from that's time I used to be coming back from the club was 2:36 a.m. Long time ago. I don't club anymore. I phased out of that age range. Sir, if I can ask you who's the best rapper of all time? Biggie. Biggie. And I'm a say exactly why I think he's the best. In every in every category of what makes someone the best MC, he holds it. Lyrically, anyone who was as lyrically good as him were also the greatest. Um, Being able to rock a crowd like at a club or party or anything, he could do that. Meanwhile, he could also put out like stuff that would be friendly on the radio, but at the same time, he could put out hardcore stuff that people on the streets like. Um, he could tell a coherent story, like a you know that not very many rappers can do, like where he can tell a story through his songs. Uh, it just in every category, he was the best. So, and anyone who came close to him was also one of the best. All right, Cruz, you're getting a timeout, my friend. I mean, yeah, Edgar. I don't know if you're a kid or whatever, but you were getting a timeout too. Like, I don't mind insults or people bashing me, but if you're just gonna be stupid, nah. Brianna says, "How's the USA?" Uh, so, depending on what aspect of the USA you're talking about. I live in Maryland, right outside of Washington D.C. You say no sleep. I slept on the daytime. Okay. Um, Luke says, "I'm all right. I'm gonna head out, sir. Take care. Thank you for knowledge. No problem. Um, chime in anytime." Brandon says, "Yeah, I love Biggie too. That's what's up." Jay said, "Biggie is just fire." Yeah, like like pretty much all those guys back in the day who were like in the Source Awards as the anyone who won the award for the unsigned hype source in the Source magazine back in the '90s were like some of the greatest folks. So of course, you got people like not just Biggie, but of course, I'm going to mention Tupac and Jada Kiss and Eminem and I don't know. I can name so many people, right? Then there's the ones from way back in the day, like Coogee Rap and Big Daddy Kane and um, KRS-One and Rakim uh, and a bunch of others. Most Def, yeah. He doesn't go by Most Def anymore, but yep, Most Def is definitely one of my guys. Anyone interested to come to Kenya inbox for real host? Too bad my friend isn't watching this live stream because I know he's interested in going to Kenya. That's not on my itinerary right now myself. I'm about to hit some other countries, but I wouldn't be opposed to going there, but it's just not where I'm going right now. But I guess you guys can inbox her if you're interested in traveling. Cheddar Bob 13 says Beastie Boys. I never really listened to them back in the day. I mean, I know they came out the same around the same time as Run DMC, but like Run DMC was like when I was a little kid, so I wasn't into them as much as I was into the guys that came out in like the late '80s, early '90s. Like the early '90s was more my era of hip hop than the stuff from the early '80s. Because the early '80s that was like Run DMC and um, Kumo D and Beastie Boys and um, what's that one guy, the guy who's considered like the first king of rap. Can't remember his name, but in any case, if you love the Beastie Boys, that's what's up. The first white rap group that I really loved was MC Search and Third Base. Those had to been the coolest white boys ever. Third Base and MC. Like I my cousin and I used to say Third Base was like a white version of Ghostface Killer, like his whole swag. And Third Base, I didn't even know Third Base was white. Like I thought he was mixed. It wasn't until later on I came up that I found out when he did like an interview on Math Hoffa. The podcast of Math Hoffa is on YouTube. You guys can check him out. He's also like a rapper as well. Um, he did an interview on him. I didn't know MC Search was like just straight up white. He like a Jewish white guy from like I think like Queens or somewhere. I was like, man, I didn't know that. So I was like, dang. So the whole group was white, and they had complete credibility. They had complete street cred back then. Cheddar Bob says Cat Stevens doesn't go by Cat Stevens either, but here we are. Oh, yeah. I had a buddy boxing out of Ghana. Hmm. Cute little lamb says Grandmaster Flash. No, that's not the guy I was referring to as the king of hip hop, but he's definitely one of the rap gods, of course. I just can't remember the guy I'm thinking of. The one who used to sing. Um, I think he used to sing "These Are the Breaks." Brianna Brooks says free run with Wi-Fi security tight next to airbase. You see jets. Hmm. Okay, so guys, I think Brianna might be a travel agent. I think Biz Marquis, another great one. He was living here in Maryland up until he died. He lived in Laurel, Maryland. So I used to see him DJing at the clubs I used to go to in DC. He would DJ at clubs in DC. I saw him at this amusement park in Virginia called King's Dominion. I saw him there. I saw a bunch of rap people at King's Dominion in Virginia because a lot of people out of New York, a lot of those people would move down south to places like Atlanta, Maryland, Virginia, or North Carolina because it's cheaper. Well, Maryland isn't cheaper anymore, but back then I guess it was cheaper than living up north in New York City or the New York tri-state area. So yeah, I've seen Bismarcky a few times. I didn't speak with him, but I've ran into him several times before he passed away. I don't know who DJ Shadow is though. Oh, she says no, I'm not a travel agent. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were a travel agent because, or maybe you own an Airbnb. Maybe that might be it. He said that's a sick ass white dude DJ. I've never heard of DJ Shadow. I've never heard of him. Is this someone recent or back in the day? Because I've never heard of him. I'll look it up after I get off the stream. But yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't heard of the guy, and that's not to take anything away from his talent. Oh, back in the '90s, DJ Shadow. Actually, I'm looking up on my other phone. But I'm about to wrap this up because this was actually supposed to be about Batman. For those who didn't know, who just popped up. 51 years. Yeah. So I'm looking at him. I'm trying to see if I'm familiar with him, and I don't. Huh. Maybe because maybe because he came from the West Coast. I'm not familiar with him. Good night, Brianna. Well, you gave your information, so I'm sure if someone's interested, they can hit you up. Or after the stream ends, you can leave it in the comment section your um your socials so they can reach out to you. Okay. When once this is recorded, it takes a while for this to process, and it's not because of me. YouTube takes a while to process the live stream, depending on the length of the stream, and they do some editing because like if something's inappropriate, it'll not it'll have some flags, but I know there's no flag. There should have been nothing in the content here that should be flagged. So give it a few after I post this, and once you see the comment section, you can leave your information down there for people interested. If you're offering, I don't know, whether an Airbnb or some information about travel to Kenya or whatever, because I'm sure there might be some people interested. Because I'm a passport bro myself, so I do try to encourage people to travel. But otherwise, have a great night. Travel down the rabbit hole, do it. Like I'm looking it up, but yeah, I'm just not familiar with him. And like I said, it's probably because he's from the West Coast, and I wouldn't have been as familiar with someone from the West Coast from that era as I was with people on the East Coast. So Joshua Paul Davis, better known as the stage name DJ Shadow's an American DJ and record producer. All right. So it look like he's still doing his thing. Oh yeah, in San Francisco. See, that's why you're familiar with him and I'm not. So I was born in Baltimore, lived all over the East Coast and in Chicago, but I've only been to like California twice. I've been to San Francisco, been to LA. Fell in love with LA as soon as I got out there. I think everyone from the East Coast like falls in love with LA. I even got a what's the burgers that you guys love out there? Got one of them. And it was funny. I was just taking an Uber, and my Uber guy took me there. He's like, "Man, you gotta try one of these burgers." I was like, "All right." He took me to the spot. Got In and Out. Yep, it was In and Out. He took me to In and Out. Got a burger there. It To me, it was like a it was sort of like a glorified Big Mac, but it was okay. Cause I mean, over here, we got Five Guys, so I don't. Five Guys to me is still like the best. Five Guys or sh- uh, Shaky Shack. I mean, what's it called? Shaky Shack or whatever. That and Five Guys to me are the best. But and that was cool. But like I said, it was like a Big Mac. But I have nothing against that because I love Big Macs though. Shake Shack, yep, Shake Shack. So Five Guys now, trying to catch up with Shake Shack, and they now offer a whole bunch of different types of shakes as well. But that was originally Shake Shack's thing. And you know how good a place is? You know a place is a good restaurant if almost everyone in there is fat. The first time I went to Five Guys, this is back, I think, in like 2008, and I was like the only thin person in there. I was like, oh yeah, there's gonna be some good food here. When I know I'm the only fit person in the restaurant, I know that's some good food. You like, because everyone in there is fat, and like Five Guys, like you can eat. They give you like free peanuts while you wait for your food. So people will be just filling up on peanuts as they're waiting for their food. The fries are served fresh. Um, so yeah, I love Five Guys, and it's literally right up the street from me. I got Five Guys, Chipotle, Panera Bread, um, uh, what's Firehouse Subs, of course Chinese takeout. I'm making myself hungry talking about this. Let me go. All right. But yeah, so anyway, that's that West Coast love. I'm out of here, guys. You can anything you didn't catch, you can see it in the recording once this is posted. But I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Thank you.